Hello and blessings. Welcome back to the channel. And today I have a prophetic word for you that the Lord just gave me in a time of prayer. And I must say, I'm just so excited about this word. I can't even hardly wait to share it with you. But what I saw and what I heard in the spirit is the Lord said that you are about to taste honey. And the Lord said, but this honey is going to be sweeter than any honey that you have ever tasted. Amen. And so I know that some of you are going to hear this word and you're just going to run with it. You're just going to be like, I receive, because you've learned how to receive the word of the Lord. And I know others may be just like, well, what do you mean by honey? I need a bit more context. What's actually going to happen? And I just want to talk a little bit about receiving words, okay? Because some of you are just so downtrodden, you're so discouraged that even when a word like this comes forth, you struggle. You struggle to receive the word because maybe you've been feeling so disappointed or weary, and you don't even know if you can even receive any of the promises of God right now. And I just want to just really encourage you and just talk about this for a little bit, because I feel like it's so important to be able to understand how to receive the word of God. And I just say, like, I can completely understand when you receive a word from God that sometimes if you can't see it or you don't know how it's going to happen, it can sort of like make you feel a little bit like, just a bit weary. And I know this because there was a time in my walk as a believer that I really did struggle with receiving words from the Lord. And this is coming from someone who spent a lot of time in God's presence, just receiving the word of the Lord. But oftentimes when the Lord spoke to me, I wouldn't receive it inside. It was like it was stuck, like it couldn't get past a certain part in my heart. And I really, really, really struggled with this for years. And it really caused me a lot of pain. Like literally, God would be saying things to me. He would be blessing me, be telling me about my future, saying that I have something great that I have for you. And literally, it would just be like no excitement. The best, the best word I could use was skeptical or just non-trusting. And I would just say to myself, like, don't get excited, because you're going to mess it up. You know that something's going to happen and that word won't come to pass in your life. And I think part of me didn't really understand who God was as a person. I felt like God was just saying things to me to make me feel better about myself. But because I was so downtrodden inside, because I'd suffered so much rejection, and because I'd always had to try and win the approval of others, that's how I felt. I would not be able to receive what God was saying to me. I would rather be that person who would try and, like, even if God is saying he's blessing me with something, I would then try and win it. Like, so it would be like on my own terms. And then sometimes I would feel like that was too much of a challenge. And so I would defeat myself in my mind and just not get excited for it. And so the Lord had to really, really work on me for years. It absolutely took years to get this out of my system. And I don't know, the key, what I believe got it out of my system, was the fact that God didn't have to do any of this. He really didn't. It was God was blessing me because of his grace, because of his mercy, because of his love. It wasn't based on what I could do. And God used to literally tell me, like, Tanya, you need to stop thinking that you're going to mess things up. You need to believe in me, that I can do it for you, that I can bring you to that place that I'm telling you I'm bringing you to. And it's just, I don't know, it still didn't sink in until the day that I realized without a shadow of doubt that God loved me. And it wasn't because, I was performing. It wasn't because I did anything to deserve it. I realized that God loved me because he is a loving God. That is his nature. That he is love. And everything that God has ever done for me was because he loved me. And it took a lot to get that to sink into my mind and to sink into my heart. Oh, and another thing I didn't realize is that Jesus has paid the price for these blessings. There's nothing that we have to do other than receive. And a lot of our walk, a lot of our faith journey is getting into faith, is getting into belief. And that is the challenge. And saying that you're going to have honey sweeter than any honey that you've ever had before, like, you might not see how that is going to unfold in your life. And you might be one of those people, well, I need to know exactly what you mean by honey. I need to know exactly what is going to change in my life. And just wait, just receive it. Just wait. God is going to make sure that wherever he has spoken that in your life, that it will come to pass. That when it does come to pass, you will be happy. You will be blessed. You will be feeling on top of the world, whatever it is. And so our key is just to remain in expectation. It's just to take God for his word. There's a story and it's quite powerful about receiving. And I've been thinking about this story quite a few times over the last few months. And it's found in 2 Kings 7. And it's in verse 1-2. And it says, there was a great famine in the land. And Elisha, the prophet of God, declared, by this time tomorrow, a seah of the finest flour will sell for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria. But there was a man, an officer of the king, who didn't believe. He said, even if the Lord should open the floodgates of heavens, could this happen? And Elisha responded, you will see it with your own eyes, but you will not eat of any of it. Now, I believe that that's exactly what happened. God performed a miracle, but the man who doubted didn't get any because it required faith. Okay, it wasn't about logic. It was in a famine. They were in a famine, and he just probably thought, well, we're in a famine. How is tomorrow food going to be so cheap? Like, can't you see what is happening around us? Can't you see that nobody's eaten? And it says there was a great famine in the land. Okay, yeah. And so people were obviously dying of hunger. So how could it be that by this time tomorrow, food was going to be so cheap that people would now have access and be able to buy food? And so the things of God are not about logic or having all the answers, but it's just about trusting in God who made the promise. And it's about trusting in his miracles, trusting in his supernatural power to do things in your life that you would never expect to receive, you would never expect to have. It's just the mercy and it's just the love of God. So God is not asking us to figure it out. He's asking us to believe. How many places in our lives, how many promises do we have from the Lord that if we just believed, if we just said, Lord, I put it into your hands and I just believe that you're going to bring them to pass, how much of a burden would that remove from our shoulders? Now, Hebrews 11:1 said, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And so that key in there is hope. When we hope, when we believe, when we hold on to the promises of God, that's what God calls faith. We may not see it, we may not understand it, we may not have any clue about how it works, but because God said it, we hold on to it, and that's what we call faith. And God promises that he'll bring things to pass. He'll give us it. And so when God says you're about to taste the sweetest honey that you've ever tasted before, I want you to just receive it. I don't want you to overthink it. Just receive it. And I know this isn't easy because so many of you have just been waiting for such a long time. But I just want to encourage you today that God is not a man that he should lie, nor is he the son of man that he should change his mind. But that thing which he has promised you, okay, he will do it. He will do it, and he will make your life sweeter than it has ever been before. And I don't know what the honey is. I don't know what the taste is, but I believe that God will do it in your life. And so if you receive this, I want you to just comment, make a comment, leave a comment. Tell me if this word has resonated with you. Tell me if you receive it, what are you hoping that God would make sweet in your life? What are you hoping that God will bless you with? I love to hear your comments. I love to hear the things that you have to say. And so let's talk about this. Let's see what the Lord is about to do. And if you have any testimonies about what the Lord is doing in your life and how he's making your life sweet, then please do also share that as well. I believe that there's so much power in sharing our testimonies. And so I just want to bless you. I want to bless you with this word that God is about to make you taste honey that is sweeter than you've ever tasted ever before in your whole life. And so I hope that this has met you at your need. And as always, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. God bless.